Clients, shareholders and investors are deserting PR giant Bell Pottinger as the scandal surrounding a campaign it mounted in South Africa gathers pace. Bell Pottinger was expelled from the PR's industry trade body last night. That followed the resignation of Chief Executive James Henderson on Sunday in the wake of the company's own internal investigation into its PR campaign, which has been criticised for being racist and anti-white. Alex Thompson has the latest.
Holborn, central London today, and as the capital goes about its business, behind this drab exterior, an empire may well be going out of business. Bell Pottinger, the global reputation managers who couldn't manage their own reputation. At midnight, the PR and Communications Association, the industry watchdog, expelled Bell Pottinger for 5 years, unprecedented for an outfit of that size, saying the company has brought the PR and communications industry into disrepute with its actions and has received the harshest possible sanctions.
They were clearly wrong and they clearly ought to be expelled, and that's what we did. And I hope people will see it as the moment when the PR industry says we are ethical, we are regulated, self-regulation works, and our regulator is willing to expel even the most famous company in the world if they do the wrong thing.
So, banned by the industry watchdog, which describes the company as both unprofessional and unethical, it's hard to see how it can survive this. Corporate clients will be dissuaded from putting their money into Bell Pottinger for their own internal compliance reasons. And as for the world's murderous dictators, well, why would you spend your money with this company when its reputation is now toxic? Thus, overnight, clients like Investec and Richemont dumped their accounts with Bell Pottinger. Today, United Carillion pulled out too. Then, this afternoon, the company's second largest shareholder walked away. Tim Bell built Bell Pottinger in his own style, pushing further, harder, faster for those lucrative clients known as reputationally difficult. In other words, the rich and hated who want to be rich and loved. Chile's General Pinochet, dictator and mass murderer, they represented his foundation. More recently, they did reputational renovation for the Belarusian dictator Alexander Lukashenko.
I was there.
And for the British-born Asma al-Assad, First Lady to a Syrian regime steeped in blood. Bell Pottinger worked for F.W. de Klerk when he stood against Nelson Mandela for election in South Africa, and they did PR for Oscar Pistorius after he was accused, rightly as it turned out, of murder.
But sometimes a nation needs to remind itself.
Most lucratively of all, the US government paid Bell Pottinger £500 million to produce fake propaganda videos for its occupation of Iraq, like this one obtained by the Bureau of Investigative Journalism. They got a hell of a lot of money to burnish reputations which are still in tatters, just as they were before.
Yes, they did. I mean, their previous work isn't for me to comment on, but what I would comment on is that it is kind of ironic that a company that specialises in reputation management has managed to destroy its own reputation over the course of a few months.
Bell Pottinger approached the Channel 4 newsroom on at least 2 separate stories. They attempted to influence our coverage of human rights abuse in Bahrain and also in Sri Lanka. But Bell Pottinger's possibly fatal error was using a race hate campaign in, of all places, South Africa, hired by the billionaire Gupta brothers who have close associations with President Jacob Zuma, using fake news and a false Twitter account to inflame racial tensions against wealthy white business interests. The Gupta brothers deny any wrongdoing. Yesterday, Bell Pottinger apologised completely, accepting they deliberately inflamed racial tension in their campaign. Tonight, the industry is spinning the one rotten apple defence, insisting Bell Pottinger is a rogue firm. But is it? Take Russia. How many British firms are out there spinning for billionaire oligarchs with friends in the Kremlin and beyond? Or the Gulf state dictators, perhaps? Again, what tactics and dark arts are really being used for whoever will pay the right money? Frankly, until a company gets caught out, like Bell Pottinger did, neither we nor the industry watchdog really knows.
Alex Thompson there. Well, we asked Bell Pottinger for an interview and were told no one was available. I'm joined now, though, by Duncan Hames, Director of Policy for Transparency International, and Leif Anja Schneider, CEO of SBC London, a reputation management firm based in central London. Leif Anja Schneider, this is ugly. Many would say it's immoral, but is it really any surprise? Isn't this what big PR firms are supposed to be doing?
That's what this big PR firm did, and they were known for taking a certain sort of work. And that doesn't mean that all the big PR firms are doing that, although some of them may be.
But as Alex says in that report, I mean, we just don't know, do we? They got caught out in this particular instance. How good is the regulator at working out what other public relations firms are up to?
Well, I don't think it's very good at all, because it seems to have been caught very surprised by what's happened with Bell Pottinger when, you know, it could have worked it out much sooner. And that's, it's not really a proper, it's a slightly toothless organisation.
I mean, what are the weaknesses in the regulator?
Well, I can tell you that their Article 3.2 is that a member shall not intentionally damage the professional reputation or practice of another member. So that means even if you find out that another member is acting in a terrible way and doing terrible things, you can't tell anybody. It's an anti-whistleblower clause.
So would you report another company if you felt that they were behaving unethically?
Yes, if I thought that they were doing something like this that was going to impact on a lot of people's lives.
I mean, Duncan Hames, head of Transparency International, the regulatory body has expelled Bell Pottinger. It's taken its most serious sanction ever, it suggests. Isn't that evidence the system is working properly?
Well, I certainly welcome the action they've taken in this case, prompted by an external complaint and following carefully a due process. But I would invite the PRCA, indeed everyone in this line of work, to take a long, hard look at whether the bar for judging whether work is acceptable or indeed which clients to take on is really simply too low.
And what do you mean by that exactly? I'm going to put the point to Leif.
Well, we're very concerned about the availability of these kind of services to corrupt individuals and regimes. And if you take on business with a corrupt regime, there's a high chance that the money itself is the proceeds of crime taken from some of the poorest populations around the world. And if you suspect, rather than pocketing this money for services rendered, if you suspect what you're being paid is laundered money, then you have a responsibility to report it to the police as suspicious activity.
Isn't the reality that public relations is all sort of reputation management? If you need your reputation managed, it means you're doing something that many people would find unacceptable.
No, that's one interpretation of it. If you need your reputation managed, maybe you just need more people to know what you're doing and the good work that you're doing, and
Or you need to hide some of the work you're doing that's unacceptable, immoral, perhaps.
Well, that's how it would appear that some agencies have taken it to mean, but I think that it doesn't work ultimately, because you can't actually make a silk purse out of a sow's ear and the truth will out.
There's not some kind of entitlement to these very expensive public relations services. It's not some kind of human right. I think ethical considerations should cause the industry to turn their backs on corrupt regimes.
But isn't that ridiculously naive to suggest that they'll walk away from doing work that is incredibly well paid and not illegal?
Well, there's a difference between what's legal and what's ethical. And these are people who are in the business of understanding reputation management. And your client base is something which determines your reputation as a group of professionals. And yes, I do think they should turn away from laundering the reputations of elites in some of the most corrupt regimes in the world.
I mean, how confident can you be about the people you represent, that there's nothing in their background or in the work that you're doing for them that would be regarded as unethical, as unprofessional, as distasteful?
Well, there are certainly some people on the BP list that everyone knew about. There were a small minority of clients that it didn't take a rocket scientist to work out that these were not good organisations and not good people. Then it's for a PR firm to do some due diligence, and it's got to be said that it's for the firm taking on a PR firm to do some due diligence. Which stable are they getting involved with?
But I mean,
These
how...
guys-
Sorry, go
These
ahead.
guys are not alone. Your report mentioned Bahrain. Bahrain Watch found that there were 10 London-based PR firms that received over $30 million in the 2 years after the Bahraini government launched a crackdown on human rights and anti-corruption activists. This is not a case of one rotten apple. It's a challenge for a wake-up call for the whole industry.
I completely agree.
So what is being done about it? You have a regulatory body. Why isn't more being done?
Well, I think maybe there needs to be a new regulatory body which actually has some powers over the industry, and there has to be a stronger code of conduct rather than, I mean, the PRCA, it has to be said, their inaugural meeting on a best practice was held at the Bell Pottinger offices.
Duncan Haynes, I mean, you used to be a Lib Dem MP. Political parties all use advisors, individuals or companies to protect their reputation, to polish their reputation, to get their message across. How different is that?
Well, certainly those that can afford it. But I think it's entirely appropriate for these professionals to ask themselves whether the rest of their clients would be happy to know that they were working for clients with, frankly, dishonourable reputations.
We'll have to